kupelekwa ama kupeanwa, basi ni swala lingine, italeta shida zaidi. Sijui miswada impeachment itakuwa ingine ngapi tukielekea pande hiyo. Kwa hivyo, Madam Speaker, kile tumefanya ni kwamba tumerudi tukaongea na suppliers wetu, wakatuelewa ile mambo yalivyo, na sasa pia wizara yetu ya fedha tukasema sababu ni lazima wakulima wapewe pembejeo ya top dressing haraka iwezekanavyo, na rais pia kuingilia sababu ya passion yake na support ya mambo ya kulima. Nataka kutangaza leo ya kwamba hii problem tutamalizana naye Cherargei. Nimepata shilingi bilioni 3 asubuhi ya leo hii kabla nifike hapa, ya kuhakikisha ya kwamba wale suppliers wa pembejeo wameweza kulipwa, sababu tulikuwa na mandeni na wamekataa kuleta sababu mandeni iko imelipwa. So naomba nikiachiliwa hapa haraka iwezekanavyo, ili tuweze kuweka mikakati wapate pesa, na ili fertilizer sasa ianze pia kufikia kwa wakulima haraka iwezekanavyo. Asante Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable CS. Senator Chute.
Shukrani sana Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, wacha nichukue nafasi hii kushukuru waziri. Kuna senator amesema akujangi sana hapa. Nataka kusema amekuja mara nyingi hapa na nashukuru yeye sana. Tena Madam Speaker, ningetaka kumwambia pia vile mambo ya impeachment imeenda. Ndio amefika mbele yetu. Pongezi. Madam Speaker, mimi nilikuwa nimeulizwa nisome swala ya Korir. Baadaye mambo ikabadilika kidogo. Lakini niko na swali mbili muhimu sana. Swali ya kwanza, waziri anajua wakulima ya miwa, wakulima ya majani chai kama Cherargei, na wakulima ya kahawa wanalipwa, wanasaidiwa na serikali kulipa madeni yao. Sisi pia kutoka hapa Eastern na North Eastern, ukulima yetu ni ng'ombe, mbuzi na ngamia. Kwa kiangazi ya juzi tulipoteza ng'ombe, ngamia na mbuzi nyingi sana. Nataka waziri atuambie vile watu wanasema sasa one man, one shilling, one vote, one shilling. Ni hiyo system iko kwa serikali ya Kenya kuweka sisi nje, ama hata sisi tuko na haki ya kusaidiwa kwa ridhaa ya kulipia sisi ng'ombe, mbuzi na ngamia tuliopoteza? Na pia Honorable Speaker, Madam Speaker, kuna Agriculture Finance Corporation imepatia watu kwetu deni. Hiyo deni imepeanwa kwa sababu kiangazi kutoka 2019, 2020, 2023 ng'ombe, ngamia, mbuzi iliisha sana. Na nimepata nafasi ya kuongea na Managing Director wa AFC. Ndio watu wetu wasisumbuliwe sana kulipa hiyo deni. Ningetaka kuuliza waziri, ni msaada gani atafanyia watu ya Marsabit na North Eastern kwa jumla na hapa Eastern, ndio deni hii ya AFC ianze kupatiwa nafasi, serikali wasaidie kulipa, ama kama serikali haitasaidia wanaweza patiwa muda ya kulipa. Madam Speaker, kuna wakulima kutoka Marsabit wanatumia auctioneers. Wiki iliyopita auctioneer anaitwa JK Wanderi alienda kuuza ng'ombe, mbuzi ile ilibaki ya wakulima wetu. Nataka kuomba waziri atusaidie hawa wakulima wasisumbuliwe. Swali ya pili, mwisho, kuna funding ambaye inaletwa na
Senator
wahisani.
Chute, you know you're supposed to only ask one question.
I know, madam, I even presented my case
I
earlier.
will indulge you, make it
Let me make it very short. Kuna wahisani ambaye wamekuja Marsabit na Turkana. Moja anaitwa Drought Resilient Project ambaye ni ya Germany. Ya pili ni Kenya Livestock Commercialization. Ya tatu anaitwa Food System Resilience Project. Nataka waziri ajue hii donor funding pesa imefika huko yote miaka sasa ya 3. Hakuna maendeleo yamefanyika huko. Pesa zote imeenda kwa mshahara ya wazungu, transport ya wazungu kwenda Amerika, kwenda Europe, mastare yao ya kwenda Mombasa, na ile magari wamenunua na ile mshahara kubwa na allowances wanalipa ndio imemaliza hiyo pesa yote. Kama waziri anajua hiyo maneno iko, atachukua hatua gani kuhakikisha wazungu
out of order.
Yes. Wazungu ambaye wanaleta msaada kwetu, alafu hiyo msaada tena inarudi kama mshahara na allowances na hizo vitu kwao, atafanya nini kuhakikisha ile pesa inakuja kusaidia wananchi, inaenda 80 to 90% iende kwa wananchi ya Kenya? Asante sana, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable CS.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Speaker, let me try to answer or to respond to the issue that the Senate has with KELCOP, FSRP projects, and I want to say that these projects and DRIVE are projects that we implement together with the county governments. They are donor projects. They are loans, and we've been very clear that once the finance agreements have been done and we find that the projects in their normal structure do not to respond to our better agenda, and I had a meeting with the World Bank last week and another one on Thursday, tomorrow morning. On Thursday, we have room for us to readjust those components being financed so that they are able to speak to what the government's agenda is. And I think it is not. I think it's not really factual that the FSRP, the KELCOP projects, money is being spent by the Wazungu for trips or whatever. You know why? It's because the Food Systems Resilience Project is a project that is starting now. The project is not 2 months old. So this project has not started. The project coordinator was my technical advisor who is running it. So this project has not started. KELCOP is a project that is at least it's our own project age in the sense that it's been there for around 3 or 4 months. So probably there are those other projects that probably were not managed the right way, but we are now very keen, Mheshimiwa, to deal with them. And I would want to ask senators before or once you have issues, paying us a visit to the office, sitting down with the correct project coordinators and getting things as they are, or listening to you, or even doing a letter to me, we are able to understand and be able to answer specifically to those issues that the leaders are really have. So I would encourage a situation, because we operate an open door policy where members can come. Of course, we sit down, or whether you want to come as a team, I can organize my technical people, all those that are running these projects, then we can be able to do them. And I remember even last week when we met with the county governments under the National Value Chain Program, NAVCDP, we have a meeting and we are going to align the project to suit the demands of our people, the county governments, and the national government agenda. Finally, let me say that, yes, I am aware and I know there are some areas really suffered a lot during the last drought. And to specifically answer to Mheshimiwa, we have taken Isiolo as the hub of the 6 counties that are within the northeastern, and we are doing the Isiolo abattoir because that's the meat hub for that region. And because we mean business, and because we have found market for our to support our livestock farmers in Jordan, in UAE, in Saudi, and we feel that we have an airport in Isiolo. It's easier to lift meat to these new market destinations, and so that there is more value for the livestock keepers in that particular region. That's what government is trying to work with the county government of Isiolo and others to ensure that we finish. And we have also supporting the building or putting up of we are putting up the fattening, the feedlots within those particular areas so that we're able to fatten animals, increase the quality of meat so that our premium cuts of we have prime beef and mutton to extend. So government, that's a demonstration of how committed government is. AFC has, as the agricultural bank for this country, is faced with challenges of finance. Why we do not have, we do not really, or there are certain delays in accessing money, is because the borrowings or the applications go beyond what we are able to disburse, and because we wait for people to pay their monthly contributions, sit down and disburse. But in our appearance to the budget committee, we've put a case whereby we are seeking financing through this supplementary budget and the main budget so that we can really capitalize CFC. And the president himself president has pronounced himself and given his country to fully finance AFC so that our farmers can be able to get loans at an interest below 10%. So once we are fully capitalized, then I think access to cheap loans will not really a big problem. However, let me also say that yes, in understanding the problems that the livestock keepers have out of the death of their livestock during those bad times, we have also put a case before the budget committee where and this was yesterday, where we have asked for 500 million shillings to restock or to support our farmers that lost their livestock in those areas. So I think once the National Assembly approves this, and the President has also committed and he has given me instructions that you must look for this money, 500 million, to support the livestock farmers in restocking because of loss of livestock during that drought and some out of these floods. So, Mheshimiwa, that is the state of affairs as at now. I'm confident once the National Assembly approves the supplementary estimates and the main budget, I think next year should be better than this current year, because we have really applied for budgetary provisions to deal with the issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable CS. Senator Gloria Magoma Oroba. What is your point of order, Senator Chota?
Sorry, Madam Speaker. Maybe the CS forgot the question. I asked him, there is this AFC loan he didn't answer that question. If people can be, if not waived, can they be given time to pay because of what they went through? Thank you very much.
Sorry, Madam Speaker, I don't know how it escaped my mind, but allow me to say this. We cannot have a blanket waiver without properly doing an assessment and getting to know how many people are affected and do an assessment of a case-by-case basis. It's common knowledge, yes, people may have lost their livelihoods out of this, but we really need to know who it is, how much money was given to him, and then see what consideration we can make. If I had that kind of information, it's also not anything much to ask and write to cabinet to seek approval or to explain a case. So if there are those farmers that are known, let us have those details, let me know, then we'll treat that matter with the urgency that is required. And because you have also raised it, let me also say that for some time, people have all through thought AFC is a place to go and pick money and go without paying. And that's why we are very reluctant. That is why AFC is not really capitalized, because politicians, senior government officers have taken money from AFC and they do not pay. So please take note. Very soon, I'm going to release the list of shame for people who are sitting in this Senate, who are sitting in the National Assembly, who are sitting in the executive, and have taken money, who are governors, who are senators, everybody who is not paying. And yet these people are properly endowed. So I think let this be noticed. Because once this question is asked and we have time, I will just give, I will release the list of people that are in government that are not paying. So for us to grow this country, if you are privileged to be sitting in such an office, we have no problem lending anybody money because you are supporting the sector to grow and you are doing something meaningful. But if you pick money, please pay. I've also been given instructions to the MD that the money that he must give in AFC is to finance agricultural activity. We do not have money for you to go pick and burn the floods. It will not work, we will not want. And once we get to know about it, then we'll deal with the matter with the full force of law. And I know because we've started increasing or dealing with the serious reforms there are also people there outside making noise, saying they are being targeted, they are being...
Senator Eddie, you are out of order. Senator
Right?
Eddie, you are out of order. You cannot use your phone in chamber.
So we are saying AFC being a farmers' bank, we want to finance farmers. If you take money, go and pay. Even if you are a member of parliament here, come and borrow. Give you a proposal, you want to keep cows, you want to grow maize, you want to grow fish, we won't give you the money. But when you get the money, please pay. And if you are one of the teams that have sat there in AFC for the longest, sanctioning a fraudulent issue of loans or processing loans without the proper securities, you are this house number. Don't make noise there. Don't go to anyone. Because we have to deal with him. Because this has happened, and it's just a matter of time. Because we'll be releasing this information. Because most of the loans, a number of loans have been taken without the proper security, have been given without proper documentation, and that this is what we are working on. And once when we're almost getting to the real culprits, people out there looking for people to support them, I will not allow. I will make sure that things are done the right way. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable CS. It's accountability all the way across all the departments and ministries. Senator Gloria Oroba.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is about the markets. I appreciate that we have 7 main exporters and you've highlighted them. And my supplement question is that, what is the minister doing in terms of ensuring that in the past we had our livestock produce blocked from markets such as Europe? And the concern was about disease control. I don't know what the status is. Maybe if you can highlight the status on those markets that were blocked, if possible. And if there's anything that we are doing in terms of creating disease-free zones, which is what was required of Kenya in order for our livestock produce to be accepted in markets such as Europe. You also spoke, the final one, you also spoke about the lots, the feeding lots, and the feed lots to promote the quality of our meat for export. Is there any additional value that the ministry is doing in terms of the feed lots, and just to ensure that they're sustainable or add value on the activities that are ongoing there? Thank you.
Honorable CS, if you could hold a bit, we take 2 more questions. Hold a bit, Honorable CS, we take 2 more questions. Senator Bogwa, then followed by Senator Okech Eddie. Isharo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question to the CS. We all know that the meat market, we have a lucrative meat market in Middle East. Can you specifically tell this House what measures the government has put in place so that the small, the people who, the small scale farmers who are keeping livestock can benefit from that market? Thank you.
Senator Eddie, so that we give the CS time to respond to those 3 questions.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I think I'll go there so I can see the CS's eyes. I think I'm blocked, so I'll use this because I can't see the CS from this other side. CS, I'm Senator Eddie Okech from Migori County. And my concern, and it goes with the previous question that we had explored around coffee, and the same magnitude of investment that I'm seeing in coffee is what I would wish to see in Migori's Lower Kuja Irrigation Development Project in Nyatike County. And my question to you, Bwana CS, is that there has been a prolonged and inordinate incompletion and lack of compensation to the farmers who are doing rice in that particular region. That rice scheme in Lower Kuja, Bwana CS, has got a very immense potential. And this is something that 2 Senates have had petitions on this, and the national government hasn't dealt with. My predecessor, Honorable Chila Yako, during his time, this particular issue came here, and those farmers in Nyatike have not been compensated, and the completion framework for that rice scheme also did include a serious yarn to be able to figure out the market strategy, where you will find that paddy rice is being taken all the way to Uganda, and the people in Nyatike just remain to be people who are having their land exploited, and they don't get benefit from.
Senator Eddie, I know the female senators have much more words than the male senators for some reason, but your question now sounds like a whole essay.
No,
Can you shorten it and make it
Chair,
specific, precise?
I was actually going to make it precise, but I think on this issue, because CSS have come over and over and it hasn't been addressed, I don't even need an answer. I needed just the CS to actually be able to take note on this and even live with me here and go and help me solve that issue in Lower Kuja, in Senate.
Question time.
Yes, it is.
You are so allowed to pose it as a question so that the CS responds to it.
Yes, Chair, I really wish that you would allow for framing of questions, because the CS wasn't asked this question when it was coming here. And if it doesn't have the right texture for it, then it will just be another charade of just asking questions for the sake of asking question. But I'm asking a very serious question on that completion and compensation of those farmers so that we find a long-lasting solution to the people of Nyatike and Migori. And lastly, as I finish, would you also just make a comment on the Karamu habitat, where on the Karamu slaughter that I heard you talk about the potential for prime meat, and in Karamu in Kuria West, there is a slaughterhouse that has been there for the longest time, and the case for investment is not clear from the national government. Would you also just comment on that as well, Bwana CS? Thank you so much.
Honorable CS.
Madam Speaker, let me start with generally answering as the Migori County Senator and tell him the ministry as a framework or is developing in the process of ensuring that the areas that we have identified as potential for rice farming are properly supported. I remember some time back, because rice really is a close substitute for maize. And our consumption for rice is beyond 1 million tons every year, and we do not produce 30%. And that is one of the reasons why there is serious squeeze on our foreign currency, because we have to pay so much money going out there. So we have identified areas, including that area of Migori, where we want to really support farmers, really grow rice, including Tana River. There is another in Kirinyaga. So there are areas that we have agreed that require support for rice production. I may not be able to specifically tell you in terms of whatever support is coming to your county, because you also know that's not a question I was really prepared to answer. But if you want me to give you more specific answers to the question, then we don't mind getting a request on that particular answer, on whatever you would want us to explain to you on what we are doing. You are a senator, your governor is my friend. We've discussed once in a while on how to support Migori, and I was supposed to have been there on the 12th, on 13th, 14th, but unfortunately other things arose. I was not able to make it, but I made a commitment. I will just visit. But out of those areas that we want to support farmers to grow enough rice, at least for us to be able to bring down the rice in deficit in the country, your county is one of them. The Kalama slaughterhouse you've just mentioned is also a slaughterhouse. I may not be able to really give more details about it because I've had Kalama for the first time and from the floor. And given time, we may be able to do some bit of research and give my officers opportunity to look at it and be able to respond appropriately. But allow me in general to say that the issue about trade markets for meat, and why I think is Oroba that the senator asked what we want to do, and Mheshimiwa also has on the specific measures we are taking. Why we've had issues with our meat going out, why our export for meat has had issues, is because we've not complied to certain standards. And the standards, some of them, are to ensure that our animals live or are in quarantine so that the risk of disease is minimized, so that we are able to control the foot-mouth FMD and other diseases. So one of the strategies or reasoning behind the 31 feedlots that we want to do is to ensure that the animals that we keep within the feedlot system are animals that will finish properly, so that we improve on the quality of that beef. And now invite those countries that have expressed interest in getting our meat to come and do visit and see where animals are kept, because they want to satisfy that requirement of animals being under quarantine. Their movement is restricted, the disease control is in place, and for that matter, then the probability of them getting high quality, disease-free meat is guaranteed. So that is one of the reasons behind the feedlot system, so that if the South Africans, the people from Jordan, can fly in tomorrow and take them and tell them, this is where our beef will be coming from, whether it's in Isiolo, whether it's in Turkana, wherever it is, they can be able to see. That is one. Two, the export markets for meat in Middle East, UAE, are the biggest markets for our beef. And so that we also ensure that it's quality, and safety in our beef. We've now operationalized 9 export slaughterhouses in the country. 9 slaughterhouses in the country, so that they're able to comply with the standards that are required. And this is whole idea is towards being able to finish our beef properly, to be able to ensure that our access to the foreign market is achieved. I want to tell you that 10 days ago, our team came back from Uruguay. We had sent a team of farmers, people, livestock keepers, just like I did with the tea. So our livestock keepers and the ministry went all the way to Uruguay to visit and to learn on how or what the requirements of access of beef to the EU market is like, so that at least we are able also to ensure that what we produce is market targeted. And once we comply with their requirements on production, then our market is properly assured, and our farmers will be happy. Mr. Speaker, I don't want to thank you, and I'm losing my voice because of a cold.
Honorable CS, do you need water?
Unless it's warm, which is not possible.
Sergeant at Arms, you can organize to assist the Honorable CS so that he can be able to finalize the questions. What is your point of order, Senator Gloria?
Madam Speaker, if possible, I had asked if the Cabinet Secretary could clarify whether the status of our livestock produce export to Europe is still the same, because we are blocked. We are losing out on 400,000 tons. That was where we left it. If he can clarify whether we are still blocked from exporting to Europe, because he has explained on the measures they are taking. But are we still blocked, or is that a market we are accessing?
Mr. Speaker,
Honorable
Madam,
CS.
I have said we've just sent a team, or received a team back from Uruguay. And the idea was to learn and see how better to access the EU markets. Markets are blocked, or markets are probably unsanctioned because of failure to comply with the standards. And whatever we are doing is to ensure we are in compliant with the market requirements. When some time back we lost some market of avocado, was because of farmers harvesting immature fruits. So, and the level of enforcement of rules or regulations that are in place and understanding that our export market is very sensitive, we must take the necessary measures. So I've told you, I was trying to enumerate the kind of measures we are taking so that we secure that market. And I think, in my view, we have very many unscrupulous people. And if we do not really comply or enforce these rules, the probability of loss of that market is high. So let me stop there, Madam Speaker.
Honorable CS, you've been given the warm water you requested for. You could take a minute so that you come back and maybe respond to Senator Eddie Okechi's question and the final question of Senator Karungo Dhangwa. You want a clarity?
Bwana CS, what I was raising, and I was asking whether your ministry is aware, is that for the last 6 years, the Lower Kuja project, and I know that you say that the government is supporting this, but the Lower Kuja Rice project in Nyatike, the National Irrigation Authority did take a lot of land for the development of that nucleus project there. And when they took that land, there was supposed to be compensation that was very clearly articulated by the national government through the authority to all the farmers who are there in Nyatike. And up to date, Bwana CS, they haven't been able to receive compensation. And this has left them to that exploitation where they've lost their land, while also they cannot be able to participate in the rice production. This is the question I was asking,
Senator
whether you can be able to help us intervene on.
If I can give a guide, that's a very substantive question. It does not sound like one that is strong enough to come in as a supplementary to the original question that the CS was asked. I would guide that you pose it as a substantive question through the Secretariat, then the Honorable CS can come back with actual figures, because compensation is about money, it's about funding, it's about very specific answers to that question. And it sounds like a very weighted question for the people of Nyatike. But Honorable CS, if you want to throw in a comment, that would be the guide I would give on that supplementary question.
Chair, I agree with you completely, and we don't mind that coming because it's the right way to go. But allow me finish on the matter to do with the EU market, because it appears much more very keen on this. And I was just trying to be very moderate. And you see, one of the greatest problems that we've had in most of our markets, access of markets for meat, is the foot and mouth disease. And if you remember, 2 months ago, Kenya signed the economic partnership agreements with the EU, and this was part of the process towards accessing the EU market. And you see, the ministry is working towards meeting the EU standards despite the many challenges that we are facing. And for us to be able to be within the standards agreed and set is why we are bringing in the issue of quarantine, ensuring our animals are under feedlot system, so that at least there is a proper high degree of measure of control of disease. Thank you.
Honorable CS, I can see you need to take a break. I don't know whether you're able to take one more question from Senator Dhangwa to close the session. You can try. So I think, Honorable Senators, you will bear with the CS. He will take only one more question, and ideally I should have released him. He's been on his feet, and I think he's a bit indisposed. So we'll have the final question from Honorable Senator Dhangwa.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and of course for your generosity to serve our CS with hot water. Should have just added a little bit of sugar and coffee for him to enjoy one of the crops that he is mandated to protect. Madam Speaker, my question goes towards what the CS has said about the Agricultural Finance Corporation. because not so many Kenyans know and understand that this cooperation gives loans to people who want to develop agriculture. So my question is in that line. As a department, what are you doing to sensitize, to make sure that Kenyans are aware, and especially the youth, so that they know and they understand this is one of the corporations that give loans with little or less interest compared to the others, Madam Speaker, so that Parliament can see the efforts, then they can allocate more money to AFC. And in conclusion, Madam Speaker, now that the CS has said he is going to release the list, maybe he can tell us how many days do we give him so that he releases that list of all those politicians. You know, they were not kind to him during the impeachment time, so don't be kind to them. Yeah, release the list of any politician who has taken any money at AFC and how much they have taken and why, whether they have told you whether they will be paying or not, Madam Speaker. So we need the senators, we need the MPs, we need the executive, everybody who has that money at AFC, the name must be published. Actually, this will be another way of sensitizing so that Kenyans now can understand there is money for them, but some politicians are taking it.
Senator Eddy, what's your point of order?
Madam Speaker, I'm rising on a point of order number 101 on the content of speech, Madam Speaker. Is it in order for the Senator for Kiambu to actually impute that members of Parliament, for which our standing orders does not allow, to impute that the members of Parliament were unfair to the CS in any way, in whichever deliberations? And if it's not in order, Madam Speaker, may he withdraw that statement and apologize, Madam Speaker.
What is your point of order, Senator Cherargei?
Mr. Speaker, under Article 10, the rule of law and principles of natural justice, and there is what we call judicial notice. What Senator Tang was just mentioned is in the public domain. It is not new. So Senator Eddy should take judicial notice of the fact that the liberation, and Senator Tangwa did not go into detail or the substrata of the engagement that was done in the lower house. So that Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, allow that matter to rest there. Senator Eddy wants to milk political capital, which is no longer there. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
There are 2 points of orders that have been raised, one by Senator Eddy and a response point of order by Senator Cherargei. The first one is regarding the rationale of the judgment, whether the National Assembly was fair to the minister or was not fair. That is a question that was considered before the committee in the National Assembly and should be left to rest there. The decision was rendered and given. Whether it was fair or not fair, that remains subject to the opinion of everybody, the masses. We do not have to kill ourselves with it. The judgment has been rendered. The verdict was rendered. And in all fairness, then, it would also not be correct for Senator Dangwa to impute that it was either fair or not unfair. It was not subject of discussion. You said they were not kind, not fair. It does not go to the content. It could be the personal opinion. So we could leave it to rest there. The verdict, what holds anyway, is not what Senator Dangwa is saying, whether kind or unkind. What holds is the verdict that was rendered by the committee. And since we did not have this as a substantive topic being discussed or a question being raised in this House, I will guide and direct that we let it rest there. It was rendered, the verdict was rendered, so I'll give the Honorable CS an opportunity now to respond to the substantive question. Thank you.
I think I'm being heard. I think the question I have to require to respond to is Honorable Adangwa's question on what we are doing to ensure or to make the public aware of the role AFC is playing in the agricultural sector, or to make the farmers aware that there is money from available at low interest rates at AFC. I won't say, Mheshimiwa, that I think for those people that are really serious, engaged in farming, know the existence of AFC. AFC has 33 branches in the country, including Kiambu. So it is there, and is properly branded AFC, Agricultural Finance Corporation. And just like you cannot go banging and shouting, come for money, because money, anybody who wants money must know where to get it and must have a reason, because it cannot be given without a reason. And they have prudent guidelines on how to advance loans. So any farmer that has pressure will always knock at the door of AFC, and you will be financed. I want to tell you, Chair, I got to know about AFC when I was growing up. That is where my father used to get money to do his coffee or do his tea. So it has been, I think it is, AFC is older than you, Mheshimiwa. So why we've not really been very keen on drumming a lot of support for AFC for people to run to AFC is because of undercapitalization. Because even as we see it now, the requests for loans that we have surpass billions, and we are not able to give. The money that I was asking for from Parliament yesterday, 500 million, will not even be able to give out to 5 farmers, although we will give farmers to the more money to the small farmers. And without mentioning names because of confidentiality, I under Lindy, who came to my office from Kitui, doing very well in mango farming, who has the value chain on mango, requires a lot of support. When you look at what she has done, and it's a Lindy, and we want to support the young men and women in farming, but she was asking for around 150 million shillings, which we can really, or we regret we did not have. Yet our business in the export market, it's a guarantee that, number one, will create opportunity for employment down there, because she has already done it, open our market for our mangoes to the other parts of the world, the EU market and others, but unfortunately, we are not able to support. So I am appealing, I've made a case to Parliament. The President himself said his focus is to have 10 billion go to AFC. How I hope we can be able to generate more revenue, and I am insisting, generating more revenue so that at least these very critical sectors can be supported, and then we can really be able to stimulate economic growth through investment in agriculture. Madam Speaker, less than a month ago, I was opening a forum in KIS in Safari Park on agriculture financing, and we are around 32 exhibitors and people supporting this sector, and everybody appreciates. But the manner, the state at which we are, we have really to work extra time to ensure that we generate more revenue to be able to finance these critical sectors of our economy because of their potential to stimulate economic growth. So once we have support from Parliament,
Good morning to you and welcome to the live proceedings of the Senate, coming to you from Parliament buildings. This is a live broadcast brought to you by the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation in conjunction with the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit. Let's now have a look at the order paper this morning on some of the areas and agenda set up for consideration by the Senate this morning, where the order paper is a full entry with motions. Given priority is a motion by Senator for Baringo County, Senator William Cheptumo, on declaration of cattle rustling and banditry as a national disaster and subsequent establishment of a special funds for victims. In this particular motion, the Senator for Baringo County, Senator Cheptumo, seeks to have the Senate resolve that the national government, through the Ministry of Interior, National Coordination, in collaboration with the Council of Governors, do declare cattle rustling a national disaster, establish a national task force on matters cattle rustling and banditry. This national task force will be charged with the responsibilities of investigating the causes of rampant cases of cattle rustling and banditry in the affected regions in the country at large. The task force should also establish the extent of suffering, losses, as well as damages the cattle rustling and banditry has occasioned to the communities in all the affected counties. During this resumption of debate on this particular motion on matters to do with banditry, the Senator for Baringo County also wants the Senate to resolve that the Ministry of Interior, in collaboration with the Council of Governors, do create a special fund for mitigating the losses suffered by and in compensating all victims of cattle rustling as well as banditry, and settle all internally displaced persons occasioned by the menace. Away from the motions, let's now have a look at the business for consideration by the House, and bearing in mind this being our Wednesday morning, we expect Cabinet Secretaries to appear in plenary this morning. The Cabinet Secretary for Mining and Blue Economy, as well as Maritime Affairs, will be answering 3 questions from nominated Senator Miraj Abdulrahman. Senator Miraj wants the CS for Mining to tell the House what measures has the ministry made in the development of a policy and legal framework for matters blue economy in Kenya. The Senator also wants Honorable Mvuria to tell the Senate the details on the disbursement of Kenya shillings 1 billion under the Investing in Women in Matters Blue Economy in Kenya project by the African Enterprise Challenge Fund, funded by the Department of Global Affairs in Canada. The CS also wants the Honorable Senator also wants the CS to tell the House the number of women-led farms that have benefited under this program. Lastly, Honorable Mvuria will be required to clarify if the ministry has a policy on women in the blue economy space, considering that they contribute up to 60% of labor force in the fisheries sector. The other Cabinet Secretary set to appear this morning is the CS for Water, as well as the CS for matters to do with agriculture. Allow me to hand you over for this live broadcast, presided over by the Speaker of the Senate, Honorable Amason Kingi. Enjoy your viewing.
Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu, twakusihi tutazame kwa neema nyingi na baraka sisi watumishi wako ambao umeridhika kutuita kwa nyadhifa za uongozi katika jamhuri yetu. Tukuomba utuwajalie tuyatende na kufikiria mambo yote yatakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki na uaminifu, ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi yetu na wale ambao haja zao umezikabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amen. Clerk, do we have quorum? Sergeant at Arms, kindly ring the quorum bell for 10 minutes.
Okay. The quorum bell is currently on at the Senate. The Speaker of the Senate has directed the Sergeant at Arms to ring the quorum bell for 10 minutes. As it stands, the House is not properly quorated. And so, as we await for the lapse of that particular bell and further directives from the Speaker and the probability of members are making their way into the chamber this morning, allow me to keep taking you through the highlights in the order paper this morning. And away from CS Mvurya, who will be appearing before the Senate this morning, the other CSs expected to appear before the Senate plenary, among them the CS for Agriculture and Livestock Development, Honorable Mithika Linturi, who has questions from various senators. The nominated senator, Senator Joyce Correll, wants Honorable Linturi to tell the Senate if there are measures that the government has put in place to ensure that all meat sold in Kenya meets the requisite standards for the human consumption, and could the Cabinet Secretary clarify whether the government monitors the entire meat supply chain for slaughterhouses to the retail outlets? The CS for Agriculture will also be answering questions from Senator Mungatana, the Senator for Tana River County, who wants the CS to tell the House whether the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock has assessed the losses suffered by both crop and livestock farmers, particularly in Tana River County, due to the recent heavy rainfall experienced across the country, and if so, what are the findings? The CS will also be required to tell the House if the government has any plans to compensate farmers for the losses suffered, and if so, could the CS indicate the budgetary allocation made for the said purposes and explain any measures put in place to ensure that payments are made in a timely manner and to the right individuals? The CS for Matters Water, Honorable Zachary Anjeru, is also expected before the Senate this morning. And the CS will be answering questions from nominated Senator Mariam Sheikh, who wants the CS to tell the House what has caused the delay in the completion of Mandera Water and Sanitation Project that was funded by the African Development Bank, AFDB, in 2016 and address the suffering of residents of Mandera due to water scarcity. The CS is also required to provide a breakdown of the project's budget and state the amount paid to contractors and service providers to date and recipients of these payments, as well as the specific work done. The Senator for Baringo County, the Senator for Nandi County, my apologies. Senator Samson Cherargei is a senator for Nandi County, wants the the CS for mining, blue economy, and maritime affairs, Honorable Salim Mvurya, to tell the House the current status of gold mining activities at Kerebe Gold Mine in Nandi County. The senator also wants to understand what is the total amount of money paid as royalties to the government for the gold mining activities at the said gold mine, and could the Cabinet Secretary also provide a breakdown of how these funds have been shared. This sharing is between the national government and the respective county governments, as well as the local communities. The CS is also required to provide a timeline for the processing of all current applications for the mining permits as well as licenses, and explain the regulatory framework governing artisanal mining in Kenya.
Be informed we do have quorum now. So, Clerk, you may proceed to call the first order. Order, Senator Seki.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers. Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
Now, honorable senators, according to the order paper, there are 7 questions that were due for response today, this morning. And we had invited 3 CSs. 3 questions were meant to be responded to by the CS in charge of agriculture and livestock development. 2 by the CS in charge of water, sanitation, and irrigation, and the last 2 by the CS in charge of mining. Now, I'm informed that the CS in charge of water, sanitation, and irrigation is in the House, and therefore we are going to start with her. Thereafter, we are going to move to the 2 questions directed to the Ministry of Mining. However, as far as the CS in charge of agriculture, livestock, and development, I'm informed that he's not in the House. And he will not be able to attend Senate today for purposes of responding to these 3 questions. Now, I'm informed that a letter came yesterday afternoon from the CS in charge of agriculture, indicating that he will not be in a position to attend today's session for purposes of responding to those 3 questions directed to his ministry. When we sat at SBC yesterday, we had not received any formal written communication from the CS agriculture, and that's why those questions are contained in today's order paper. So, honorable senators, we're going to have only 2 CSs responding to the 4 questions. As far as the CS for agriculture is concerned, we will not be able to have those 3 questions responded to. And these questions were by Senator Joyce Korir, Senator Danson Mungatana, and Senator James Morango. Yes, Senator Mungatana.
Bwana Spika, leo mimi nilikuwa na swali kwa waziri anayehusika na mambo ya kilimo, na haswa nilikuwa nataka kumuuliza mambo ya mashamba ambayo yamezama na kama serikali wanafanya nini kuregesha hiyo mashamba kwa wananchi ama kuwasaidia kuanza tena. Bwana Spika, mimi nimetoka Tana River asubuhi hii jana usiku, na wananchi wanatuuliza haya maswali, na niliwaambia waziri mwenyewe atakuwa hapa. Ni kitu gani ambacho ni muhimu zaidi kuliko hii emergency ya mafuriko ambayo tuko nayo, ambao waziri hawezi hata kuandika barua, hawezi hata kuja hapa kwa nyumba, hawezi hata kuwa na katsi ya kuelezea. Sisi tunakuja, wananchi wanangojea, na yeye anatoroka. Na what is wrong with this guy bwana? Na juzi tu ndio ametoka kwa
Senator Danson Ngatano.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
You're a seasoned member of this parliament. You cannot, if you choose to use one language, stick to it all the way.
Ndio, Mr. Speaker, nilikuwa nasema ni nini namsumbua huyu waziri? Juzi tu ametoka kwa kitanzi, hapa tu karibu. Alafu sasa anahepa bunge. Mimi nangojea ripoti ya agriculture sasa. Kamati ya agriculture na wao waweke ripoti yao, Senate iongee. Sio ile mchezo wanafanya huko kwa bunge ndogo huko. Asante Mr. Speaker.
Senator Murango. Yes.
Asante sana mstahiki Speaker. Mstahiki Speaker, yangu ni kusema ya kwamba ingekuwa ni muhimu kwa sababu pia kama venye Senator wa Tana River amesema, kuna jambo muhimu sana kwa sababu kuna jambo mpya limekuja ambalo linaitwa UDR. Sheria mpya ambayo itakunja kuzima uzanji wa kahawa katika nchi za nje, ambayo inaanza mwezi ujao. Kwa hivyo hata mimi nilikuwa natarajia angekuweko hapa kwa sababu ifikapo mwakani soko yetu kubwa sana kule Ulaya itakuwa tuwezi kuifikia kwa sababu ya swala la hiyo mambo ya ukataji miti regulations. Kwa hivyo hata mimi ningetaka kusema kwamba ingekuwa ni muhimu awe hapa aweze kujibu. Na pia kwa hiyo imesemwa na Senator wa Tana River ni kwamba ripoti yetu tumemalizia na tutakuja kuwasilisha katika hili mbunge na venye kamati ilikuja na ile mambo ambayo tulipata katika ile sakata ya mbolea gushi. Asante Mr. Speaker.
Now, Honorable Senator, the reason why the CS is not with us this morning, as indicated in his letter, the reason is that he's leading a Kenyan delegation to the launch of the China-Kenya Tea Trade Center, which is an event aimed at promoting Kenya tea export to China for improved farmers' earnings. That is the reason. And he was supposed to, this particular event is taking place between the 14th and the 18th of May. Yes, Senator Mundigi.
Asante Bwana Spika, hata mimi ningeuliza swali kama waziri wa kilimo angekuwa hapa. Saa hii kutoka wiki jana kumekuwa na vita ya wafanyabiashara wale wanalima miraa, watu wa Embu County wakiwa wawezi kuuza miraa Mombasa na pia ile county siko karibu huko. Pia ningemuuliza kama tumelima miraa na serikali ya Kenya Kwanza imetupatia pesa ya hiyo kilimo, ningemuuliza hiyo ametusaidia mna gani? Kwa sababu saa hii watu wetu kule Mombasa unakuta lori inaitishwa pesa ile haifai. Kwa hiyo ni usuni kubwa sana. Angekuwa amekuja hapa ningeuliza hiyo swali langu la Embu County. Asante Bwana Speaker. Na hiyo ni makosa kubwa sana.
Yes, Senator Cherankei Samson.
Mr. Speaker, just as a matter of, I want to request for your Solomonic ruling. Now this matter has come up. One, I don't know whether SBC, I'm standing under 51C, whether SBC can define the timeline when the CS can not appear. Because I know the issue of attending China tea delegation is something that has been scheduled, Mr. Speaker. You know, most of the formal meetings are scheduled. Is it possible in future, Mr. Speaker, if a CS knows that he will travel to lead a delegation, official business, apart from cabinet meetings, or they are attending, it is scheduled, Mr. Speaker, is it possible for your direction, and I want to request for two rulings, for your direction under your chair and seal that you direct any CS who intends not to appear before this House should give an advance notice, because most of the meetings are scheduled. Mr. Speaker, you can imagine if we were sure, and SBC was sure, that the CS of Agriculture will not appear, we would have rescheduled other businesses on the order paper, like motions, like bills, like statements that we have gone ahead. Mr. Speaker, and I know Senator CS Mithika Linturi, Mr. Speaker, members should be kind to him. He must be recovering from that horrendous process of almost of facing serious allegations at the lower house. Mr. Speaker, a second application of my ruling is on the aspect, Mr. Speaker, I have noticed when members ask supplementary questions, and this is my request for the second ruling, Mr. Speaker, when members ask cabinet secretaries follow-up questions, supplementary questions, it dies there. Mr. Speaker, is it possible if members ask supplementary questions and you direct CSS that they will provide further information? How do we treat such information? Should it be directed to the line committee? Should it be re-engaged in future when the CS appears, Mr. Speaker? So my ruling is, can you provide with us, if another limp of my request of the ruling is, when a CS, a cabinet secretary answers a question and the member or the House feels that the response is not satisfactory, what is the recourse to the House? Because at the end of the day, if Senator Danson Mungatana wants to ask a question about the floods and farms that have been submerged, you have had the issue of Mira, Mr. Speaker, you have had the issue of coffee in the market. So where should it end there when the House is not satisfied, or it can be processed, Mr. Speaker? But I think, Mr. Speaker, you should not condone. We have always relied on you, and I'm happy that Majority Leader is here. We should not allow cabinet secretaries to get away easily. The powers and privileges provide for mechanisms and systems on how non-appearance of witnesses before the House can be treated, even before the committee, Mr. Speaker. So I request that as you rule on those issues that I've raised on the issue of procedure and on the issue of answering questions by the cabinet secretaries, Mr. Speaker, I think as SBC, kindly provide us with, and the CSS should be told that in no certain times, Parliament does not sit in vain. Parliament, there is an order. There is a reason we are here, Mr. Speaker. It's not a talk shop. So I hope in future, and we expected the CS of Agriculture to be here, we would have asked supplementary questions on the issue of non-purchase of maize. Mr. Speaker, in North Rift, we still have maize in our stores. The issue of top dressing fertilizer, because now we are finished planting, Mr. Speaker, we would want to follow up with the issue of top dressing to our tea farms and maize farms, Mr. Speaker. So those are supplementary questions, Mr. Speaker, that we would have really wanted to ask the Cabinet Secretary in charge of Agriculture, Mr. Speaker. And I think going into the future, if you guide us properly and engage with the executive, I don't think we want to be adversarial. We want to work because we are working for the common good. And I think the intention of the President was to have a clear framework of engaging rather than engaging in fin rolls or any other forums that are indecisive. So we would have expected, but Mr. Speaker, as a human being, of course, Senator Cabinet Secretary Mithika Linturi should have been here, but I think the few weeks that have passed, Mr. Speaker, has not been easy for him. I'm not his advocate, but I'm just putting across my observation as a human being, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, in future, he should be here. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Senator Fernandi. Now, if you look at Standing Order 51A, 6, immediately a question is approved by SBC. The CSAs are given 7 days before they appear in plenary for purpose of responding to that question. And therefore, a CS has 7 days to look at the diary, and indeed, if they're not in a position to appear before Senate, then they can write to the Senate indicating the reasons why they may not be able to appear, and also indicate the possible date that they'll be able to appear. Now, in this regard, I fully agree with you that this is a scheduled meeting. In fact, the CS in charge of agriculture was cleared by State House to travel on the 7th of May, 2024. So at the time he received these questions, he knew that he ought to, he will be traveling to China between the 14th and the 18th. So he ought to have written a letter much earlier. When SBC sat yesterday, we had no indication whatsoever that the CS will not be able to appear in plenary for purpose of responding to these questions. And that's why the questions appear in today's order paper. Now, the wisdom that was given by SBC in this matter is that, one, adequate notice for non-appearance must be filed by the CS, and not just a notice to say, I am not in a position to appear. In the same breath, that letter should contain a possible date when the CS will be able to appear, so that we can look at our calendar and try to schedule the appearance of that particular CS. So that is the directions that were given by SBC. And the majority leader was to help SBC in. You will, most of the time hear that I'm inviting the Honorable Senator to my office. And most of the time, it dies there. The Rules and Procedure Committee sat twice last week to look at how then do we come up with a better mechanism of following up on such commitments. And there's some amendments that will be brought before this House to make sure that any commitments given by a CS are not just left to that individual member. Because once left an individual member, you can bet.
Your opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 13, motion, report of the Kenya delegation to the extraordinary session of the 6th Parliament of the Pan-African Parliament held at the Gallagher Convention Center, Midrand, South Africa, from 20th to 27th March 2024.
Senator Danson Mugatana is not present in the House, so this order will be deferred. Honorable Senators, there being no other business on the order paper, the Senate stands adjourned until later today, Wednesday, 22nd May 2024 at 2:30 p.m.